Well, now I bet you guys are surprised to see this. That's right, I've got another Pokenalysis for you. I plan on doing these maybe once or twice a week, so you can look forward to that. But I'm not just doing Little Cup, I'm also going to be branching out into other tiers, considering that most of my channel, while I like Little Cup, a lot of you guys came for like OU content back when I was still uploading that since the 6th generation Wi-Fi format just started. So I'm not going to leave you guys completely out of the loop. I'm still going to give you something. Don't worry about that. Now for this Pokenalysis, we're going to be looking at Talonflame. Talonflame is one of my personal favorites in Generation 6. I mean, I say sometimes that I have favorites, but in Generation 6, Talonflame, I just fell in love with that thing at first sight. I love the concept of a regional bird Pokemon. You know, there's Pidgey, P-Dove, stuff like that, Starly. I love the idea of a regional Pokemon not being normal flying for once, and I just love Talonflame's design. Sure, people call it a little portly and the wingspan's too big, but I just think that makes it look even more epic. But getting on to the analysis. Weaknesses, we've got Water, Rock, and Electric, which are all pretty common typings in the OU metagame. Mainly Electric being Volt Switch, Water being Scald, and Rock being comboed with Edgequick. But it has a plethora of resistances, and I'm hoping I use that word right. Anyway, it's got a plethora of resistances. I'm counting 6 in total, ignore the ice one. But Fire, Fighting, Fairy, Steel, Bug, Grass. Not a lot of these are common attacking types, but one of the major ones is Fighting. The fact that it resists Fighting type is huge. Not only that, but Ground. It has an immunity to Ground, and Ground is a very common attacking type and is usually paired with Edgequake, which you need to worry about, but if you know for a fact they only have Earthquake, then this is a great counter. Going on to the abilities, we can see that it's got Flame Body and Gale Wings. Flame Body gives a chance to burn, Gale Wings, pretty much like one of the best abilities there is, gives priority to flying type moves. That includes Roost, that includes Brave Bird, there's a whole bunch of other ones that are probably worth mentioning, but I'm not going to get into it right now. And looking at its stats, this thing is fast. Holy crap. Its speed is probably the best thing about it. Its special attack and attack are very similar. They're not too far apart, so if you really wanted to, you could try and run a special set, but I would not recommend it considering it does have access to Brave Bird, and with Gale Wings, priority Brave Bird is definitely beneficial. But let's go ahead and move on to the sets. The first one is the common set that's used by pretty much everyone on Smogon. You've got a Life Orb or Choice Band. I would personally recommend the Life Orb so you can switch up your moves, since it does have access to Roost anyway. With the ability Gale Wings and Adamant or Jolly Nature, I saw that most people are running Jolly on this thing, and you know what? That is not... I don't really see the point in that. I think that they should be running Adamant Nature. This thing only has a base 81 attack, which means it needs that extra attack from the Adamant Nature. It needs as much attack as it can possibly get, because it can't draw all its power from the base power of Brave Bird. It needs to bring something to the table itself. And as for EV spread, you've got 252 attack, 252 speed, and put the last 4 in defense or special defense, not HP, because that'll give it an even number and Stealth Rocks will be able to two-shot it. But if you give it an odd number, then that means it'll be able to survive rocks twice. As for the moves, we've got Brave Bird, Flare Blitz, Dual Stab, with Priority Roost, and your option of U-Turn or Swords Dance. If you're going to go with Banded, I would recommend U-Turn, and in that case, you know, you could run a Jolly set, but I still think it needs that extra attack, and it's so fast anyway. There's not a whole lot that's going to outspeed it besides like Greninja or something. And if you're going to go with a Life Orb set, you could still run U-Turn, but you can also run Swords Dance as a viable option. Now, let me tell you, this is the bread and butter set of Talonflame. Most Talonflames will run this set, and there's good reasons for it. It is very good for what it does. It's pretty much a late-game sweeper at this point. It can one-shot Greninja, and it can act with teammates as a Volt Turner, in this case being the U-Turn. But enough with the set that everyone knows, let's get to some of the sets that people don't know. This set is a custom set that was shown to me by the Canadian Wi-Fi. You know, shout out to him, he's a great guy. This is a bulk up set, and you know, the more I look about it, the more I think about sub bulk up Braviary, which he used to run in NU all the time, and considering what kind of results he got from it, I can only imagine Talonflame can pull off similar results, if not better with the fact that it has priority Brave Birds. For the item, we've got Leftovers with, of course, Gale Wings and a Careful Nature. The EV spread is 248 HP, 252 special defense, and 8 speed. Again, the reason why it's 248 HP is in case you need to come in on Stealth Rocks, then you've got an odd amount of HP and you can come in twice. With the moveset of Roost, Bulk Up, Brave Bird for that priority stab, and finally the fourth move slot can be A number of things. It can be Substitute in case you want to go with sub bulk up. It can be Taunt in case you want to try and set up on Pokemon that would otherwise try and set up themselves. Or you can run Will-O-Wisp to try and cripple Pokemon that would normally do massive damage to this, such as Gyarados. The ideal behind this set is to come in when you know you can get off at least one bulk up, and from there you should be able to survive some hits, roost up, and be able to bulk up continually from there. But you do have to worry about what your HP is at, because leftovers may help, but Brave Bird is also a recoil attack, so you need to watch out how much damage you're outputting, how much damage you're taking in, and it's a rather tough set to run, but with the right support, it can do wonders. And finally, the moment you've all been seeing for, time for a gimmick set. Yep, that's right, got a gimmick set here for Talonflame. Physically defensive. Now, some of you may be thinking, oh, it's not a gimmick set, it's totally viable. It's not viable, it's got 71 base defense. If you're trying to run physically defensive with this, you're nuts. So, it can work, but it's extremely tough to pull off. So I decided that I would take it upon myself to try and make it work, with the item Leftovers, Gale Wings of course, and an Impish Nature. The EV spread here is key. You've got 136 HP, that'll give you an odd number. The HP, I kind of had to dump the rest of what was left over. You need to have your 252 defense here if you're going to try and make a physically defensive Talonflame, and probably the most important thing is speed. Now, you could try and run lower speed for certain Pokemon such as Excadrill. You don't need 120 speed, I think you only need around 60 or 80. Yeah, you would only need about 60 to outspeed a Jolly Excadrill, get off a Will-O-Wisp, and that way you can take hits. But I decided to go with 120 speed because with 120 speed, you outspeed Jolly Kyurem Black. And considering what kind of a monster powerhouse it is anyway, you're going to want to get off that Will-O-Wisp before it even has a chance to attack you. And sure, while some sets run Scarf, the majority of the tier goes with max speed, Jolly, max attack. Now for the moveset, we've got Roost, again, Brave Bird for that priority stab. Some people try and go Acrobatics, but I think with Brave Bird, you're probably going to get the most bang for your buck as far as damage goes, and Acrobatics would mean that you would have to give up your item in the form of a Citrus Berry, or just not carry one at all. Will-O-Wisp to cripple physical attackers, so that way you can actually run this defensive set pretty well. And the fourth move, again, can be a pretty big number of things. I would recommend Flamethrower just so you can get the edge on physically bulky Pokemon that try and switch in, so that way you can surprise them with a surprise Flamethrower. Or you can go Overheat with the same effect, except you need to watch out considering your special offense is going to get cut in half after that. Or you can run Taunt. I thought that Taunt would also be a good option because you can use Taunt on certain Pokemon that would try and set up with, say, Swords Dance or Dragon Dance or other moves such as those. But that's all I have for sets. Let's get on to the teammates and checks and counters. Checks and counters, one of the biggest ones is Rotom Wash. It can take hits from both sides of Talonflame's stabs, and it can counter with a Hydro Pump and one-shot Talonflame in one go. It doesn't even need special attack investment, it could just go for Hydro Pump and one-shot Talonflame. Of course, if you're running HP investment, then that could be a different story. Next we've got Heatran, which, even if you try and hit it with a Flare Blitz, it's going to get that Flash Fire boost, it can resist your Brave Birds, and it has access to Ancient Power, which can hit you super effectively, and if they're really lucky, get the Ancient Power boost themselves. Or if they want, they could just stay in and set up rocks on you. Really, it's not a good matchup for Talonflame at all. Next, I have a Tyrantrum up here, but any rock type will resist Talonflame's Dual Stab, and you need to watch out for that. Sure, if you're running Will-O-Wisp, you can usually burn the target, but don't forget that Talonflame is also quad weak to rock, so even if you burn it, it's still going to get off a massive hit on you. And even if you Swords Dance or bulk up, there's no way in hell you're going to be able to one-shot a rock type. And finally, one more check I thought I'd mention is Slowbro. This can be said for a lot of bulky water types, but I just picked Slowbro in particular because it's got some massive defense, it's got Slack Off, it can switch out with Regenerator, it can force you out with Scald, and overall, while it doesn't particularly like taking Brave Birds, it's not a straight 2-hit KO, which means Slowbro can recover off the damage, or just flat out try and knock you out, and then switch out and get the Regenerated recovery. But let's move on to teammates. Talonflame is only weak to 3 things: Electric, Rock, and Water. And there are certain Pokemon who resist all those typings, such as Ferrothorn, Breloom, and pretty much any grass fighting combination will be able to take hits and completely cover Talonflame's weaknesses. I just decided to feature Ferrothorn because it is massively bulky. If Pokemon try and hit Talonflame on its physical side, they're going to get hurt with the Iron Barb's recoil, and it can decide to set up hazards when the opponent switches. Another great teammate for it is Keldeo. Now, while Keldeo does not resist the electric typing, it does resist the rock and water typing and is naturally bulky, as well as super fast and can hit super hard. Not to mention, if you're running the right Keldeo set, you can actually set up a Calm Mind right in the opponent's face, or attempt to just knock out something with a Choice Scarfed Hydro Pump. Other good teammates can include the Lati twins, seeing as while they don't help Talonflame that much, Pokemon that would normally pretty much counter them, such as Scizor, can be switched in by Talonflame to cover Latios and Latias' weaknesses. And in the same vein, Pokemon such as Terrakion or maybe even Clefable, who do not want to take a Bullet Punch from Scizor or Steel-type moves from any other Pokemon, make Talonflame an excellent partner for them in the fact that they can switch in and Talonflame can roost off the damage. Now, I'm mentioning Scizor a lot, and that is because Talonflame counters Scizor. I have yet to see a single Scizor that runs a Rock-type move, and they're almost always running Bullet Punch and U-Turn, which Talonflame resists Bullet Punch and Quad resists U-Turn, and it can get off a roost on their intended switch, and then U-Turn out if they don't think the switch is favorable. But I think that's all I have to say about Talonflame. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Leave some suggestions for the next Pokemon down below, and I'll pick from what I like. Or if I don't like any of it, I'll just pick something myself. But that's it from me. I will see you guys next time.